Yo, yo, yo. I don't know how this will look. Let me fix my lights. I am going on with Conway in a little bit. To preview DarkSecretPlace for tomorrow night. And I'm utilizing the new to me anyway, the new Tanqueray Rumpar Lime gin. So far, so good. Hey, I used to be on Kogo briefly. I was filling in. Eric in the Alki. Are you in actually Alki or just West Seattle? So yeah, I'll be on with Conway at look at, you can see my light in my reflection. That's a bit of a fail. You know what I'll do is I'll bounce it. See, I'm learning all this lighting stuff. More cowbell from Carmen Bestland. By the way, I knew that Carmen Best lived in Snohomish. Did you? You know, Snohomish, Washington is the highest percentage of concealed carry permits in the nation. I lived up the road in this town called Monroe, outside Seattle, and we had a lot of concealed carry, and then we had an assload of open carry. But just down the road, this town, Snohomish, Washington, was the most concealed carried permitted town in America. We had well, it still is a shell issue county, but John Popper from Blues Traveler lives there, and he had a custom Mercedes, whatever it was, a 430 that had a gun drawer. The National Guard is reorganizing into full divisions, which is really weird because we've been operating as brigades forever and ever and ever. California, on paper, is the largest division in the Army. The 40th Infantry Division is the largest division in the Army. And so what the Army is doing now is they're telling all the National Guard brigades, like in Oregon, there's the 41st Brigade. And in Washington, there's the 41st Brigade, and they're telling them, you're now going to be folded up into divisions. You're going to be, like, for instance, in World War II, the longest serving division was the National Guard Division. It was the 41st Division from Oregon. And they had all the Washington infantry battalions, all the Oregon battalions, a bunch of California battalions. And FDR called up the Guard in December of 1940 for a 1 year, sort of a symbolic, hey, Hitler, we got an army too kind of a thing. And then, of course, December 7th, 1940, as they were literally getting ready to demobilize after their year, they were put on orders, and they were one of the first divisions to ship overseas. And the 41st Infantry Division, the Jungleers, were the longest serving division in World War II. Hey, Tom, is Denver, North Carolina, is that near Charlotte? I almost did a morning show in Charlotte, but the general manager turned out to be a dick. So my daughter and I were literally packing up the house in November. But the guy turned out to be a dick. And then some other excellent legal developments occurred, and we didn't have to leave the state because we were no longer afraid of a certain somebody. So, Lav 25 versus Bradley. Bradley in that case, but Striker versus Bradley, I would rather be, I think, in a Striker because they're a little faster. Because a Bradley, it looks like a tank. It's effectively not armored. I would rather have the speed, because armor is a speed. Speed is an armor. I'd rather have have the speed of the Striker. The Lav is derived from the Canadian, Cougar and Puma, and even the Canadians are went away from those and went with the Strikers. But so I'm going to talk about the nuclear explosion that was in Beirut 4 days ago. How about that nuclear explosion, huh? It was nuclear. There's a bizarre conspiracy theory that's going on with that. So let's see. I can't get too specific, but here's some announcements. Very soon, Dark Secret Place will be on iHeart, not KFI, but Dark Secret Place will be on iHeart several times a week because they've seen how the show, the rebroadcast of the terrestrial show, the AM 640 show, is consistently, coming up on 4 years now, is in the top 100. And over the past 3 or 4 months, it's been in the top 30. And so they reached out to me and said, hey, what if you did, 3 half-hour, 45-minute shows per week? And Premiere, if you don't know, Premiere is part of iHeartMedia. So George Norrie and Premiere and all that is part of iHeart. And so they talked to me and said, and so we're working on the plans there. And it would be a lot more like a morning show because that would probably be down at Premiere in Sherman Oaks, taping it in the morning. I'd love to be doing it live, but I won't. But hopefully, kind of my goal would be that you would have it available by 8 a.m. so that you could tune away from your favorite morning show for half an hour or so and do that. Karen's not kidding. Because the fact that an AM broadcast show that people should be listening on the radio and patronizing Solar Max and Sit and Sleep and all those local commercials. Instead, the fact that a local show that's not syndicated, not promoted worth a fucking shit, makes it into the top 100 at all, should make people, think real hard about, why isn't that show on at a better time? But it's beyond my power, so I don't care. All I do is I do the show. Then an assload of people download it on Sunday and Monday. And there you go. I am going to do an update. My January COVID War of the Worlds, podcast that I did that was supposed to be set in June of 2021. I'm going to do an update on that, but it's going to be on the Connect Pal, the subscription podcast. So if you don't know that, I do that, and I'm not as good as I should be. I should be doing 3 or 4 a week. I'm sorry about that. If you don't know, I get to say fuck and shit and cunt and piss and all that on connectpal.com in context. So that's the link to it. It's $5.99 a month, and we're going to be adding a video component to it that'll be pretty regular. So there will be a possibility if you subscribe, you'll get into these video chats and no one else can get into. So that means, fewer of these, unless I'm on the air or something, when I do this from in studio at KFI, but otherwise they will be sort of pay to play. Here, you want to see my favorite new Booney Hat? There was a family from a certain NATO country, and they lived a couple miles away. And well, I'll just tell you, they were from Germany, and great family, 3 kids that went to my daughter's school, and they would get fresh eggs, and the girls would come and play with my daughter. But they would bring their dogs, and I would dog sit for them, and all this. And so anyway, the guy never wore his Bundeswehr issued desert uniform. He wore a T-shirt and jeans, even though he holds rank in the Luftwaffe. He's a German Air Force officer, but he didn't have a job where he had to be in uniform, except like once a year. And so he had this unworn desert Booney hat, and he gave me his Bundeswehr Booney hat, which I love. It looks like a fedora. Kind of tells you, where are the Germans on that? Because American Booney hats have a way lower crown, but the German Booney hat, looks like a fedora. But I do rather like it. So yeah, pretty cool. Easy to wash. Nice wide brim. Comes in handy out here in the actual desert. What am I reading? I know what you're all saying. You're saying, what are you reading? What's on your list? And I literally have a list, so hang on a second. All right. So write these down. Gin and tonic. I'm reading that. Just started this, the 100-Year Marathon by Michael Pillsbury. 100-Year Marathon. He was a very high State Department and intelligence official who was part of the Nixon-Kissinger transition to favoring the Chinese. He's done a complete 180 on that when he realized that the Chinese are on a 100-year marathon to overtake the West and become the most influential nation on earth for 1,000 years. 100-Year Marathon. Excellent book. I was on the waiting list on this. It just came out. Catherine Belton's Putin's People. You can read the subtitle. You've heard me say this before, that Putin represents the KGB, which is a state within the state, surviving the collapse of the Soviet Union and then consolidating power. Except I'm too lazy to do the work, and Catherine Belton did. So this is a big one. This is going to be all of August. Kind of, and keep in mind a lot of it is footnotes. But where are we here? 500 pages. But it's been raved about. There's another great Putin book by Steve. He was a New York Times Moscow reporter for years, and he wrote a great book about Putin. Steve, he's from Los Banos. I met him in Bosnia. We've been friends. I just know him as Steve. The third book is Anna Fifield's The Great Successor. This really is the best Kim Jong-un book so far. Even the authors of other books have said this is the one. Good quick read. So far, it's tremendous. I sat down today and got about 50 pages into it, but it's really good. So far, it's really, really exceptional. And I jump between books. I tired of this, so I go to Anna Fifield. What's my last book is my last book is my sketchbook. In between reading, I just look up at Mount Tehachapi and I draw landscapes using just tempera black ink, black watercolor. That's how I was taught in Hawaii by my Japanese art teachers, that you should really only need black ink and white paper to create a beautiful landscape. You should be able to do shadow, do that. So maybe I'll do a Bob Ross. But it's important for me. I like that my daughter sees me be creative, because this is not, to her, this is my job, being on the radio. She doesn't see that as being creative. But I pull out the sketchbook all the time, and I'll sketch the ducklings or the dogs, or whatever. So there we go. What's on my desk right now? This is an excellent book. You can pick this up all over the place. It's a great book. It puts together the chronology of World War II through a whole bunch of different maps. Starting with the invasion of France, then we skip ahead, the East Front, the battle against the Bismarck. It's a great coffee table book, which is why I bought a coffee table from Wayfair. Is anyone else into Wayfair? I'm kind of addicted now. And this is a great reference, by the way. REI or Amazon, a great reference. It's not like the Northwest, like you guys up in Snohomish and Bellevue and all that. You got to know your mushrooms. Mushrooms are really not an issue down here in Southern California. You just don't eat them. You don't see them, and you don't eat them. If you can see them, don't eat them. They're neurotoxins. Though I do know of a particular patch of morels on Mount Tehachapi, and I won't reveal where they are. But yeah, I do love the morels. But in Cahuenga Pass, right past the John Ford Theater, you can go up a road that goes up over the hill to Hollywood Reservoir. It's the biggest wild indigenous patch of fennel you've ever seen. I mean, mature fennel, like 8-foot tall fennel. And if you bring a shovel, you're not breaking any laws. You can dig up a fennel bulb, that fucking big, and try fennel instead of onion. Next time you maybe dice up an onion for an omelet or something, try fennel. All right, I have to hook up for Conway because I'm going to be on at 7 and then 7:20. So we're doing this every Friday, where I promote Dark Secret Place and Super Hyperlocal Sunday. If I could do Super Hyperlocal Sunday as a daily show, that would be my favorite, because there's just so much content in Los Angeles. The Dark Secret Place content takes a lot of work to get. I mean, I could do it every day, but No, I'd love to do Super Hyper Local Sunday. And just call it Super Hyper Local Today, whatever. Because there is, you don't have to go beyond LA for good content. But okay. So what are we doing here? 107 people. Thank you very much for coming here on Friday night. 20 minutes, 30 seconds, and we will put this one in the can. End stream.